Hi, it's Rich here with Yellowstone Post Frame. Hey, welcome back to the channel. Hey, today we'll be going over post frame foundation options. So I'm going to go over some of the options that we provide and then also what the cost difference is so you can make an educated decision on what kind of barn you're building or maybe what kind of style you should use. So first of all, I'm going to go with the one that we typically use still out here in the West because it's so dry, is a post in the ground, and we put a bag of Quikrete at the bottom, we wet it, and we create our own cookie, or you can buy yourself a cookie. They make those too. And then we'll set the post, and we got these treated post cleats that we nail on the side with galvanized nails. Dump a couple bags on top of that, and then we'll wet those bags as well, so it kind of creates, it'll come up over those blocks and it'll keep from uplifting, is what that's all about. So it's got the weight and then the uplift as well. Then we just fill it in with dirt from there. So that's our standard option that we do. And then if you're looking for something simple, cost effective, and also keep the post from touching the ground and keep that post ground contact, don't have that, is going to be your post protector. This one here is a 5-foot sleeve, and this one looks, it looks pretty big. It's a 6x6 is actually what I got here. You can get these in different sizes, 4x6, 4x4, 3-ply, 2x6. And also the 3-ply 2x6 Glulam, which is a smaller post. It's slightly smaller. You want to make sure you know which one you're using, because you do not want it loose in here, because if you set this in the ground and that post is wiggling in there, it's not going to be good. We charge like 50 bucks a post to buy them and install them. You can probably buy these for 30, 35 bucks if you're doing it yourself, a post. So cheapest option there. The pros is it's cheaper than anything else, and keep that post from ground contact. Cons is obviously just costs more than your standard way of doing it. The next option that we do is these sturdy wall brackets. This one's made for wet set. Like to put these on a monopad or a pier and bracket system. You can pour your piers and put that sonotube around the top and then set these in there. Or you could do, if you're doing concrete anyway, you can just do a footer system around the outside and stick these in, which I like doing, but it definitely isn't as cheap as doing the piers and brackets. The piers and brackets I figured out was going to be about 125 on average a post more by the time you fill that thing all the way full and you put your sonotube in there, and your post is got to be at least 4 foot shorter. So they'll have to get a longer post, so you're saving some there, but you are definitely accruing a lot more cost in the concrete, and these brackets are not cheap. They're about 75 bucks a piece. I've seen them as high as 125 on Amazon, so they're not cheap. So you're gonna spend about 125 a post more. And if you're doing like a 40 by 60, so let's say on average I get about 28 posts on one of those, that's 3,500 bucks. But if you do put these on a mono slab, with the footer, I gotta charge about $3 a square foot more. So for that same building, 2,400 square foot times 3 is 72. So this is the pier system is half price, because then you can go inside and do your pad after that, and you'll save 7,200 bucks from the mono slab, so you're only 3,500 bucks. So I feel like that's the reason why a lot of people are going that way, because it keeps the post out of the ground. It's not as cheap as the post protector, but it does, keep everything out of the ground. And the pros are that it keeps the post out of the ground. Financing is a lot easier, and obviously the cons again are you're just accruing more costs in your building. This is like a Glulam post. I don't know if you can really see that one. It's not nailed, it's literally just glued together. I was a little skeptical when I first started using these, but if you try to rip them apart, you'll rip a ply apart before you rip where the two come together. Like, the glue is serious. But they're thinner, and this one here is made for a Glulam post. That's the other thing, when you're doing these brackets, make sure you get the right one for the right post you're using, because there is a difference between a Glulam bracket and a regular 3-ply 2x6. These are 3-ply 2x6, but they're Glulams, and they're more plain down. So even this one's a little bit loose in here. That one's like 4 inches wide, that post is, and then this one is like 4 1/4, so it's a little loose. But definitely make sure you're getting same as these and these brackets. Know what posts you're using, so you get the right ones. And then these just go in there on each side, and then you'll run your bolt through there and drill a hole. They're pretty strong, I would say. Definitely would rather do wet set than the dry set. I've never had issues with dry set, but I feel like this is always going to be stronger. So with that being said, the other option would be going with the permacolumn, where you can get this bracket on a concrete in case it's like a post, like 6 foot down, and you just set it like a post and then it sticks out of the ground, and then it goes from here on up with a wood post. But those are going to be about twice the price of a pierce and bracket system. So I mean, to me, they don't really make sense. I mean, I like the idea of it, but I don't think it makes sense cost-wise. But there's another option you can look into, and then the one other option is that I don't really provide is when you just take the post and you set it, instead of putting dirt around it, you just fill it up with concrete. Because a lot of times the concrete ends up being kind of ground level, and that water is just going to kind of sit there, and with that concrete around the post, it's just going to kind of hold it there. It's not going to let it get away, which that's where you're going to get your rod is ground level at the post. So I think that's almost worse. It definitely does hold it really tight around that post, which is good. There's a lot of people like it, but I'm just not sold on the fact that it's also retained water right there. So I wouldn't recommend doing it that way. And but yeah, for cost-wise, you know, the old way of doing it is still the cheapest. Longevity-wise, supposedly these posts now have 50-year warranties on them. This is going to be the cheapest route to keep the post from touching the ground. The bracket and pierce system is kind of the middle of the road option. How I would do this is if you're building a simple hay barn, open-sided thing, maybe just put posts in the ground or get these. It's going to be fairly simple. If you're doing something more livable, more high-end, or you want to get a loan on it, I would just go with the brackets and keep them out of the ground, spend the money. That's probably going to be better. The only negative about all this stuff is with all these options we have nowadays is, you know, a lot of times when people buy a pole barn or want a pole barn, it's because it's known to be a cheaper way of building. Well, the more and more we get to, you know, away from the original way of building it, just the more and more cost you're going to end up putting in a barn. But I would, you know, use that stuff and kind of gauge of what you're doing, what you find value in, and what you know, not so worried about, and just kind of gauge it off of that. I hope all that helps. I appreciate you guys watching this video, and if I missed anything, let me know in the comments, and we'll see you on the next video.